Hello and welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, the inventor of gold leaf, as it's called in the US, or liquid gold in the UK. And one of the questions we often get asked about our fertilizers, including gold leaf and many of the other fertilizers and biostimulants, is why don't we sell them in garden centers or nurseries, as you call them in the US, or the big box hardware stores like B&Q, Home Depot and places like this? Well, I'm going to talk about why that's not really possible, and because of the way that sector works and the sort of products that go into them, and why you should probably avoid buying your fertilizers from garden centers, nurseries, and hardware stores. So the main problem is that these products are formulated for hitting a specific price point for the general public. The general public is conditioned to buy on price, and as a result, most store-bought fertilizers are formulated using the cheapest possible ingredients. That includes low-grade urea-based nitrogen, all of the potassium and the magnesium and the chlorine is coming from chlorides, which are really good for getting into solution, but magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, potassium chloride, they're not good for plants. They are the cheapest possible form of those nutrients, and they cause other issues. The chlorine causes loads of issues for the plants. It's like the sort of stuff you'd put on grassland, chlorine. You wouldn't put it on high-value horticulture, but they end up in these home fertilizers at garden centers because they are just cheap. And then filler products to inflate the weight of the product. So they may meet the bare minimum requirement for NPK on the label, but they're not necessarily the best thing that your plants want. And in fact, the likes of Tomerite and Miracle Grow can sell a bottle of fertilizer to a garden center for less than it would cost a company like ourselves to fill a bottle with water. That's just the unit economics, the economies of scale that someone like Miracle Grow can do. So they could fill their bottle with these cheaper fertilizer ingredients, whereas we couldn't even fill it with water and deliver it to the. So the margins being made are small, but they're just selling so much of it. So the likes of ourselves selling premium fertilizers for hydroponics and horticulture, high-end horticulture, we do not sell to garden centers primarily for this reason. And also because if a garden center started selling an expensive product, no one would buy it in the general public because they wouldn't understand it. The second reason is that there's this illusion around seaweed with the general public, especially in the UK. I went to a plant finders fair once with a customer, and these should have been the premium customers for fertilizer. These guys should have known, and girls should have known about anything about to grow premium plants. They were looking for rare plants. So they were, these are not just people off the street looking for plants. These are connoisseurs. And I asked everyone there, what do they use currently for fertilizer? And 90% said seaweed extract. And you just got your head in the hands going, this is why we don't sell to the general public, because seaweed contains no macronutrients, no NPK, no phosphorus, no potassium, no nitrogen, no calcium, very little sulfur. But they think when they're buying a seaweed extract at the garden center or the hardware store that they're buying a fertilizer. They're not. They're buying a biostimulant. And any NPK that's in there has been added. So the likes of MaxiCrop, they add NPK to seaweed extract because the general public think that seaweed is a great fertilizer. They don't understand the difference between a biostimulant and a fertilizer. Both have their place, but then seaweeds are not fertilizers. And so you are just, if you try and sell fertilizer into that market where people are preconditioned to buy seaweed extract, which is actually one of the best selling, products in the garden center, you're banging your head against a brick wall. And then the third reason you should avoid garden center fertilizers is that they don't contain any calcium or sulfur as a general rule. And so all liquid products will not have calcium in a garden center, unlike gold leaf in the US or liquid gold in the UK, which is a liquid product that does contain calcium. Crucial for cell wall formation and tip growth. You get black rotting growth if you don't have enough calcium. You get blossom end rot in your tomatoes. So the likes of Tomarite is designed for tomato growers, doesn't have any calcium in it. And yet the number one problem with tomatoes is blossom end rot. And then all the powdered products don't contain any sulfur, and sulfur is essential for protein synthesis, flavor, aroma, very dull yellow leaves if you don't have sulfur. And so these emissions lead to deficiencies, and that's why you shouldn't buy garden centre nursery fertilizers. They are the cheapest chips, they're chloride based, and they don't have any calcium or sulfur. The other one is that nurseries and garden centres can be extremely hot in the summer and extremely cold in the winter. They're not like going into a grow shop, which is temperature controlled. They can stay on the shelves for months or even years. They're dust collectors. That's why a lot of fertilizers are not white bottles, because you can see the dust on a white bottle. Whereas liquid gold and gold leaf, that's in a white bottle because it doesn't sit on a shelf for a long time. And over time, micronutrients can precipitate and degrade stored in these non-optimal conditions. You shouldn't be storing fertilizers above 40 degrees Celsius, but they will be, in a nursery. Those garden centers that are basically built inside greenhouses, old greenhouses. Then, so you can have faded potency on the old stock. The other reason is that you've got misleading labels and targeted products. You've seen them: tomato feed, orchid boost, cactus care, bonsai products. These are often the same base formula, but with minor tweaks, and often just more dilute. So orchid, cacti, bonsai, citrus are normally just the same fertilizer, just diluted down and to make them weaker. And even worse than that, Miracle Grow sell ready to use pre-diluted fertilizer in bottles. That is morally repugnant to me, because the amount of plastic required to deliver the same amount of fertilizer as a bottle, an undiluted product, is crazy. The amount of plastic they're using, Miracle Grow are using tons and tons of fertilizer to deliver a product that should just be diluted at home. And I think they shouldn't be able to sleep well at night because of that. It's a disgrace. And so really you're buying dilute fertilizer if you're not careful. So watered down and marked up. Ready to use are often 99% water, less than 0.1% nitrogen. So just think about the amount of gasoline required to get that to the store as well. Another reason you shouldn't buy garden centre or nursery based or hardware store fertilizers is no after sales expertise or support. If something goes wrong, what do you do? If something goes wrong while using gold leaf in the US, you phone their technical team. If you're using a Utrema product like liquid gold in the UK, you phone our staff. You can phone me directly, and you'll get superior technical support from people who are trained agronomists or even plant scientists. Whereas you really are hit and miss when it comes to a hardware store or a garden centre. You probably have someone who's got no training whatsoever. And if they do, it'll be someone with a basic horticultural qualification. You might even get a sales rep, even worse. So that's very contradictory, very different. And of course, if you buy it in a grow shop, then you're obviously going to get those grow shop hydroponic experts who'll know what they're doing, and they can give you loads of advice as well. And then the other reason you shouldn't buy garden centre and nurseries based products is, especially from the high-end ones, is you're paying for the shopping experience. Much of what you pay for in a garden centre is the retail experience, not the quality of the nutrients or the food, whatever you're buying from that garden centre, the plants. It's nice packaging, branding. It's a nice experience. There's a cafe, wide aisles with lots of choice, but is it really what you're after? Should you be going to a grow shop and buying the best possible fertilizer? And the people who are in the know, the people who grow, giant vegetables and rare plants and show produce, often go to hydroponic shops, even if they're not hydroponic growers, because they know that's where you're actually getting good value. Even if it's more expensive, you're still getting better. So what to do instead? Buy from a specialist hydroponic store. Look for transparent ingredient lists and complete profiles. Avoid ready-to-use and dilute products. Invest in proper base nutrients and supplements like silicon, CalMags, tricontinol boosts. What else could you look at? Humic acids, seaweed extracts, all these sorts of extra things that you can put on top of your base nutrients. rather than buying, cheap chloride-based products. So the truth is, fertilizers from garden centers keep your plants alive, but they really help themselves thrive. A bit like really cheap bargain supermarket pet food. Going to keep your dog alive, but is it really what it needs to thrive? They're built for the masses, built for the people who don't know what they're doing and just want to buy on price. They're not built for precision and optimization. And in hydroponics, that's a big risk as well. So if you buy a product that doesn't contain any calcium, sulfur, and is full of chlorides, then you are on for a loser. And also, if you buy, there's the Baby Bio Herb product I analysed once, it's pH 12. That is unbelievable. That is like 100,000 times more alkaline than it should be on the logarithmic scale. I haven't worked it out, but something like that, either 10,000 or 100,000 times more alkaline. So your plants would really suffer unless you were growing in soil there to buffer it. So yeah, some crazy pHs you'll find in a lot of the cacti bonsai products that you'll find for sale in a UK garden centre. One company that I'm not going to mention that do these specialist fertilizers, their products can be like pH 1, pH 2, I guess from the phosphoric and nitric acid that's in it. Really dangerous. Going to burn you, never mind the plants, if you get that on you. So yeah, be careful. And then seaweed extracts as well, they can be really high pH. So if you are interested in more advice on that, then more than happy to advise you. But as I say, don't be buying cheap and nasty fertilizers from, the pound shop, from the dollar store, from Home Depot or garden centre, any garden centre. You always go to a hydroponic store or a specialist supplier. Okay, that's been Hydroponics Daily for today, why you shouldn't buy garden centre fertilizers. Any questions, give me a shout. And if you are a grow shop, remember my giveaway from yesterday. We've got a periodic table of plant nutrients available to anyone who would like a poster to go up in their store. It's an A1 size poster. It's the bee's knees. It's really good. I've put a lot of time and effort into it, and I can assure you it's really good. And your customers who come in will really enjoy reading it. Thank you very much for listening. Until tomorrow, that's been Hydroponics Daily.